So one of our major projects would be the route optimization project for the delivery of mail. Previous to MapGenie, we would have had to request packs with information, so physical, like paper maps. There'd be packs, maybe 20 maps in it, and the validators would have to look through these maps if they needed additional information.
Before we started using MapGenie, the main application we had mobile data in a mobile incident capture system. The whole point of this was taking a system out into the field to plot environmental incidents, and beneath that the main thing was people would plot those incidents in relation to Ordnance survey data. Before MapGenie came along, we were using Google Maps to get people into the general area and then displaying large-scale vector mapping when they zoomed in to plot the incident, so that when the necessary resources were sent out to fix it, that they had an accurate Ordnance survey base map to relate their resolution of the incident to.
Before we had MapGenie, we used to have to take the raw NTF data from OSI and then process that data, style it, and that took an awful lot of man hours and time.
Well, I suppose as the National Roads Authority, we would have required the digital mapping for the national routes along the road network. So in terms of requirements, pre-MapGenie there was a huge amount of digital map tiles required. Around 10,000 map tiles are required, and they would have had to be delivered to us via CD, DVD. We would have had to process those map tiles, which was a significant effort to then upload to our own GIS system and make them available to our internal users.
Well, prior to MapGenie, I suppose the management of digital map data would have been a nightmare, frankly. We would have had to handle multiple updates on an irregular basis, and to be able to serve those into our own systems and to the systems of our clients. And really that whole headache is completely removed now.
I suppose one of the things within a university environment as well, we have lots of very different research projects. So one of the main challenges was we needed different types of data, and before MapGenie that was on a very ad hoc basis. So we would be buying maybe a raster tile here, an aerial photograph here, some vector data at 150,000 level, and then also what we found quite difficult was because we had lots of different departments working in different areas, that it became a real challenge to try and get any kind of data repository that multiple users could use. So it became very kind of piecemeal and not very effective. So there was a lot of kind of using data that was probably not exactly fit for purpose.
Well, I suppose the management and dissemination of data was quite a task, because we have students and we have staff who are working in disciplines from engineering to oceanography to archaeology, history, with a wide range of demand for different types of products, and even people who are working on campus and off campus. So basically data management and I suppose the organisation and sharing of data was quite a task before we had MapGenie. With, I suppose, the receipt, or since we've actually had MapGenie, it's made things a lot easier, and particularly with, I would say, the demand for aerial photography, because I guess that's a first stop where certainly a lot of archaeologists, geologists, pretty much across the board where they begin. So prior to MapGenie we were working with tiles. Now we simply have the whole coverage of the country, and that is great, because if a new research project begins, we have the data on tap and we can distribute it like that. So from my own point of view, it made things a lot easier. Probably a little bit busier in that sense, but at least a lot easier, and a lot less problems in that way.
And I suppose that's been one of the really key things with MapGenie. Is I used to spend a lot of my time just fielding questions from people involved in research about where they could get data, what data was available for them, and often having to send them off sort of just ad hoc to get that data. Now we have this kind of seamless data that we can build into lots of different projects. So we have people that are working on looking at mapping hedgehogs in an area. They can use that base mapping. We've got people that are looking at historic developments in terms of landlord changes of ownership, and so they can use the 6-inch mapping that's available there. So we've got this really disparate group of people that are all very successfully using MapGenie.
And we've been, I suppose, pleasantly surprised about the stability of the service as well, which is obviously very important if you're relying on sort of an externally fed web service in relation to data. So we would use MapGenie and other web services extensively in all our systems, as I say, be it map viewers, desktop tools where we do a lot of analysis, analytics and so on, through to again the app, the mobile side of things, and it's all working very sweetly really. I guess the other thing I suppose is that we find that MapGenie merges in nicely with other data sets. You know, we will be using marine data, terrestrial data from a whole range of sources. Some of it might be European or UK, Irish and so forth. So again, you know, there's no issue on that side of things. It makes life a lot easier for us.
Well, we've recently developed a new internal website which consumes the MapGenie web service. From my own point of view, it's a huge saving for me personally, because prior to MapGenie services I would have been processing those map tiles, which could have taken a couple of weeks, you know, to process the map tiles, make them suitable and available for our own internal web viewer. But now, as with the MapGenie service, it's literally hook into the Ordnance Survey website and consume that MapGenie service. So it's a great saving from time and productivity from my own stuff. It frees me up for other work that I can do then in the NRA.
So with MapGenie now, we can actually access the Ordnance Survey mapping data for use in our web and mobile products without actually having to do any extra work. And that's really, it saves us an awful lot of time, an awful lot of money. And also with MapGenie, before MapGenie, we had to try and style the data, and we could never do as good a job as the data is now in MapGenie, and that's really important. And again, now we have a high quality product and a high quality mapping background that can be used in government portals, that can be used on government mobile applications. So for example, we have a customer on Waterford City Council who send people out around the city to capture the location of issues, say like broken street lights, curbs, and that's all captured against the MapGenie map on an iPhone. And we don't have to process the data, it's all ready to go, and very, very rapid and very easy to use, which is very important for our customers.
Well, the difference is that we now use MapGenie as the standard underlaying layer. One of the key things was we used the Google Maps when people were trying to get to the right location where they were in the city. We were using Google Maps at that point because it was aesthetically good for them to use. But now we've replaced it because MapGenie presents different scales of mapping. So as they zoom in, they get the higher degree of detail. And the fact is that's that high degree of detail when they zoom into that location. They've got the accurate large-scale mapping for them then to plot the incident. The issue that we were having before is you were relying on users to remember to turn one layer off and turn another layer on before they recorded the incident, which could lead to the incident being incorrectly placed, which obviously could then have a knock-on effect that when someone tries to go and resolve the issue, they're not looking at the correct, they're not trying to find it in the correct location, and there's time wasted. So by MapGenie having it there, we have that now we have it displaying by default, and it means that our incidences are now recorded more accurately in the field.
But now with MapGenie, we have an intranet site using an Esri, like a flex viewer, and they can, at the touch of a button, they can search for a building, use a building ID, and they can see the maps there on screen. So it's much quicker for them. They don't have to spend all this time going through kind of filed packs of maps. So it saves a lot of time for the CAD, the Central Addresses Database, for their validators.
So I suppose in terms of MapGenie, when we decided, and particularly with Tony and Dominic, were very helpful in getting us initially set up in terms of what the benefits were. They were very good at coming down because, of course, within our organisation, it's not just about selling to one place, but particularly with this type of project, it's a large investment for us. So we had to look at multiple departments coming in, and where for the geography department, it's very easy for us to see the benefits of GIS and this type of spatial data, how it impacts on our use of GIS. Selling that to some of the other departments is a little bit more tricky. So initially, very, very good at coming down, giving us some really good talks so that we could engage the different kind of stakeholders in it. Subsequent to that, coming down and really helping us to get it set up, and particularly again because we tend to have a lot of different people with different technical expertise. So particularly using it as the WMS service within things like ArcGIS, we did run into some problems with people locking out passwords and things like that. So we always found very, very quick at turnaround on that, working out what the problems were and basically engaging with us to solve those.
In terms of the support from OSI, this has always been quite straightforward. I mean, the extent of the support that we would typically need is the issue of tokens for new clients, or to ensure that appropriate license is in place already for a client before we request a token. So that's all very straightforward, and I guess it is about having we know there are formal structures within the OSI, of course, but there are also the informal contacts and so on, that we avail of regularly, I guess, to ensure that we get through our work efficiently. So there's never been an issue on that front.
Yeah, we've rarely had an issue with the MapGenie service. Anytime we have had, the service has been down. It's been fixed probably within a 30-minute time period, which is very reassuring from our point of view. As we've recently built new websites which are public-facing websites and consume that service again. They inform the road user of where incidents are on the network and things like that. So it's really important for us that we have good performance on the MapGenie service, so that the public it's always up and available for the public consumer who's searching on the web to see where incidents are on the network and that kind of stuff.
Well, what was great from OSI is we're a partner, so we don't actually. We get provided the data, we get provided access to MapGenie at no charge. So when we are giving demonstrations to our customers, OSI let us to use the data, show the data, and it's a kind of a two-way street, that we kind of show off what our data can do, but then it helps us show off what our products can do, and it's the best of both worlds for us. So that's a great thing that OSI has supported us over the years. While again, if we didn't have MapGenie, we would have to invest an awful lot of money in data that we don't have, because we're not a data provider.
Very pleased with the MapGenie. When we looked to get it set up, it was a fact of just getting the license code, applying that key. What we thought was, once we learned how to do it, and we learned how to work with our proxy service to get that displayed, was very fine. We can now use it with any other application. And now we now want to bring MapGenie into our other intranet GIS and internet GIS applications as a standard layer in there as well. And the support to date has been perfect.
Most of the support and backup we don't need a lot, to be honest with you. The system works very well. It would usually only be things like tokens, getting new tokens. But apart from that, we don't really have any problem with the system. It kind of works as we expected. All the information is there, it's updated, and yeah, we don't really need much support. Yeah, sorry.